This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the universe, welcome back to the Epic Roster Watch podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap, here with Cody Carpentier and Can't Miss Mitch for week 2 of the Circa Millions Cast, right? The Millions Cast. Okay, so this is where we talk over our 5 picks for the Circa Millions contest, where Cody, Mitch, and I have a shared contest ticket, entry, whatever you want to call it. Last week, your boys went 4 or 5, so we need to keep it up. Mitch, tell them about the algo and what it did last week.
Yeah, exactly what we wanted it to do. The high value plays, which we throw up on the roster watches at the Pro package,
the premium download section.
Thank you. So on the premium download section, we color code it for everybody. It's simple. The ones in green, bet those. Those are your high conviction, high value index plays. Anything greater than 5 points is of high value. Those went 5-1-1 last week, 83.3%. If it does that all year, Alex, Cody, we don't care.
It isn't going to do that all year, but I mean, it would be great.
Not 83.3% would be.
We would move to Aruba and we wouldn't do this show anymore.
Yeah, but we're going to win $1 million if it continues to do that. Yeah. Because at that point, manager selection of what actually goes into the 5 doesn't matter, because if it's clipping 83%, we don't need to do much. It's hard to mess up. But overall, anything outside of that really didn't do great. The color coded in yellow, really from 2 to 5 points of value, went 0-4, not great. And then we had Tampa last week, which really didn't have a lot of value there. I believe Miami was in there as well. Those were
that Miami should have. That was it.
Yeah. Just about started perfect.
Just about.
Yeah. But last week, just to remind everybody, we ended up going with San Fran, New England, Chicago, Tampa, and Miami.
And Miami was the one loss. Cody talked on the show about Tennessee. We talked him off of that after the show was over and got him to flip over to Chicago. That was a super duper sweat for a little while. Miami ended up giving us a sweat, man. Thanks to Travis Etienne and the fumble there at the end. But it's like, man, that hook on the 3 points was what ended up swindling us in the end. If Miami just could have gotten in when they were down 3 at the very end right there and gotten in for that touchdown, we would have just, we would have gone 100% with the first week on the entry. But 80%, we'll take it I'll take 60% every week, I mean, with some spikes up to 80, and you can win the contest. With that being said, I think the format last week was we each kind of toss out 2 picks to sort of what we like. I haven't looked at the algo yet. I don't like to look at the algo before the show. From what Mitch has said, the algo's gross this week, though. And sometimes when the algo's gross, it's good. Sometimes when the algo's gross, I get super tilted because I think the plays are so bad that I just don't want to play them. And I have a feeling from what Mitch has said, it feels like that's sort of the way it is this week. Sadly, or maybe not. Cody, do you want to go with your? I think I started last week. Do you want me to start again? I'll start again. Okay. Can I please just talk? Can I please just talk you guys into what is have we got the lines from the contest yet?
They're out.
Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah, I'll pull it up here in a minute.
What is Kansas City? Kansas City
on Vegas on the line. I have not seen that, but I do have that up. And go ahead and provide context.
Okay, so basically what we're seeing here is
5.5, but I'm going to get on the Circa and see what that.
At Caesars, we have Cincinnati at -6. At DraftKings, we have Cincinnati at -5. It looks like 79% of the tickets are on the Bengals. but 87% of the money is on Kansas City. It's a very, very, very sharp early trend on Kansas City. I thought the Bengals looked terrible last week. I know, look, you guys, credit to you guys for the New England call. It was like every Survivor team just got totally swindled. And if they would have listened to us, they would have been a little bit worried about making that. Dude, 34%.
Not us. We took Tampa, baby.
34% of survivors got knocked out of the Circa $1,000 survivor because of that pick. And then we all saw what happened with Cincy last week. Dude, Kansas City at home versus any and I don't care if Jamar Chase is kind of back to being himself, and if it's still up in the air whether or not they get back T. Higgins this week. I just look at last week and I look at like Demario Douglas and Ramondre Stevenson, and you get like Jalen Polk and some of these guys just kind of peppering in for some stuff. And I'm just like, dude, Cincinnati's gonna have to deal with Xavier Worthy and Kelsey and Rashee Rice and Mahomes at home, and like a defense that plays so much better at home. And we're getting New England beat them last week. I'm sure the algo hates it. Does the algo have Cincy somehow?
It does. Yeah, the algo doesn't like it. I don't like that play. I lean on KC for sure. But you got to remember,
sometimes you just got to think about
there was a fortunate bounce there, right into the hands. I believe was it Marcus Jones?
Which game?
Right at the goal line, the Cincinnati New England game.
Oh, well, there was a number of things that happened there that was very helpful for us and our betting exploits there. Ramondre Stevenson going into GOAT mode was one of them.
Hey, by the way, I did say that. I think you guys had him late round 3 ADP. Am I right about that?
Ramondre, I mean, here's the thing. I don't know exactly where we had him because our cheat sheets isn't really rankings. It's just like leverage against the average of all the ADPs. But I can tell you that like in my 2 home leagues, I have Ramondre in both of them.
Yeah, I stretched, and there's a reason why, because he did what he did. So
yeah, I was able to get him in both, and I'm actually actively trying to trade him away right now. But that's a whole other story.
For some reason, I can't pull up the lines. I'm on the Circa Sports.
Did they tweet it out? They
did not tweet it out.
They haven't tweeted it out. They usually tweet it out. Somebody's sleeping.
Okay, well, we can just go with the lines that are on the premium download section right now over at rosterwatch.com, where you get access to all the betting plus the betting percentage plus money percentage stuff. We could probably, Cody, can we get like a ticker going across the bottom telling people about Roster Watch Premium and like go download it to get the picks from the algo? That's another thing that you get, as well as the prop finder and the matchup widgets that give you all the information, like just all the pregame odds, the odds movements, the passing matchups, rushing matchups, the latest injury reports, from each day. They get updated there. So yeah, make sure you go check out a premium sub at Roster Watch. You get all the algos picks, Mitch's maniacal invention here. All right. So
by the way, I'm just going to say, I would fade the algo here.
On KC?
Because
we can put him in the maybe pile, please.
I agree with it. I'm going to throw a couple of stats here, and you guys tell me, when you look at the offseason, did Cincinnati's defense get substantially better than last year? Because last year, this is the 31st ranked defense on opponent yards per game, going up a really strong Kansas City defense at home. They gave up 269 yards on the ground and through the air per game, which was 3rd best. And Cincinnati ranked terrible. They were 31st last year. So defense alone, we saw what the offenses can do and what they couldn't do. I gotta lean KC here too.
To me, there's the other thing about how Joe Burrow, he was a full participant in practice today, but there was this stuff going around about, him just kind of shaking his wrist during the week and stuff. And I don't know if I want to let that kind of come into my,
you have to.
KC was just the one that just jumped out to me, man. I really like it.
Listen, you don't have to convince anybody. You don't have to convince. I mean, Mitch sounds like he's in. You don't have to convince me. Like, his arm real. We've seen it with a number of quarterbacks in their careers. We're seeing it live with Deshaun Watson right now, and people still like Cleveland still has to be in and believe in him. The Joe Burrow thing is as much as the facts are the facts. The guy was 5-5 last year. The team was 4-3 without him. He hasn't started hot. He's never started the season hot. He's playing without T. Higgins right now. We don't know what that hamstring looks like. The ball isn't coming out of Joe Burrow's hands the same. Like,
no,
it's just not. And, I don't know if you want to call this like, you're playing roulette and it's hitting blacks. Like, you just got to ride with the blacks. You just got to keep riding with it. Like, I think this is where we're getting with Burrow, is that you're still going to get this baked in thought of Burrow being who Burrow is, but he's not what Burrow was.
My second one. So we'll toss that one in. It sounds like you guys are kind of down. We'll tighten this up, but the other one is just, dude, I'd like to know whether the line, because, okay, so Indy at Green Bay. Look, I'm going to do anything I can to bet against Malik Willis. If this is going to be a situation where people are just baking in that Green Bay is good and they're not doing anything about, how many points on the spread Jordan Love is worth versus Malik Willis, who's just so bad. He's not going to be able to do what's asked of him as far as operating that offense. I'm seeing it now on, Caesars has it at Green Bay plus 3.5, but the SI Sportsbook still has it at minus 2.5. So I'd imagine there's maybe we get it at 3 in the contest. It's a pure play of, look, man, this is going to be a spot where Malik Willis is going to fold and Indianapolis is going to beat them badly. And it's very, very, very simple, but that's where I am on it. I don't know if the algo hates it or whether or not
no play, really half a point of value. So this is going to be a no play. There's just not a whole lot. Pretty fair market value, or pretty fair market non-value.
Is it fair market value for Love? Because we haven't gone through and done the thing where you text me and ask me for the adjustment.
Usually. So what happens is I did make an adjustment.
Okay.
I made a substantial adjustment.
And it's still
because Love versus Willis. What would you guess the point deduction be?
4.
Yeah, 4 to 4.5.
4. So if you think he's playing, you're saying this is an even money game, or Green Bay might be favored by a point?
No, I think that I think Green Bay would be favored by less. Well, it doesn't, like 1 point and 2.5, it doesn't really matter, right? I think it would be certainly less than a field goal, but I think they would be favored at home for sure.
Yeah. So maybe a pick 'em game. So I made a 10-point adjustment. The algo had Green Bay winning 23.91 to 17.88.
I think y'all are gonna hate this, but I'm off of this Indianapolis.
Okay, that's fine. It feels weird. I get it.
The line feels like it should be more in my mind. I'm with Cody. I think this might be a more of a layoff than a maybe. The KC feels good. I'll fade the algo. I generally don't like to, but I like the KC play here. Cody, what do you have?
I was just gonna say the Green Bay thing was interesting because I think Green Bay is gonna be able to run the football on those guys. That's the only reason I'm kind of away from that. The one that I personally love this week, and I kind of texted you guys earlier about it right off the bat when I saw the number come out, was Philly on Monday Night Football. Philly has Atlanta at home, I believe it is, on Monday Night Football, and I think Atlanta's Kirk Cousins is one that we just talked about. Burrow and I brought up Deshaun Watson, and that's obviously arms, but Kirk Cousins does not look right in this offense right now. I think they had him under center on one snap. They had him predominantly out of the pistol and out of gun. and he didn't look great. I think Ray McLeod had 7 targets in this game. Pittsburgh, of course, beat the bejesus out of them, and Philadelphia doesn't exactly have the same pass rushers that Pittsburgh does, but they do have the internal push. And I think that that's going to cause enough pressure against Atlanta. They have the exterior talent. I know Quinyon Mitchell struggled a little bit, but I don't know how Atlanta goes into Philadelphia on Monday night and keeps this thing close, just based on what Kirk Cousins looks like right now. And so that's where that's completely driven from. I think the number was 6.5, I believe.
That's what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing 6.5 across all the sports books. So that's what I'm sure that's what the Circa line will be. 83% of the tickets are on the Falcons, and only, 17% of the tickets are on Philly. 94% of the money's on Philly. It's the sharpest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's a mega group out there betting on this, and the books are saying, gosh, are we gonna have to move this to 7? Like, that's what this is. That's going to get moved. Like, that's going to go through a key number if that stays like that. That'll go through 7. Gosh,
I love Philly here. I love the spot. The algo concurs. Even at 6.5, even at 7, plenty of room, plenty of value. We've got 3.5 points of value on the Eagles. So I look at the Eagles in the offseason at home. This team put up 31 points a game on the road. When I look at Atlanta, and you can definitely make the argument, Atlanta definitely got better in the offseason on offense, although certainly didn't look like it. I think that was just a testament to Pittsburgh's defense. But this Atlanta team on the road, not a very good football team offensively, averaged 14.3 points a game. So you got to take that into consideration. Saw what you saw out of Kirk Cousins last week. Golly, I had Drake London in fantasy, did absolutely nothing.
3 targets, Mitch. I mean, that was one of the things on the Underdog show. We were like, man, that 8.5 for. By the way, those Underdog picks last week were also really, really good. But the Drake London over 8.5 targets was just I had that in too many of my entries. That was really bad. I think that. I mean, to me, it's like that's a great call, Cody. Like I say, we just jam that one in. I say I
like it. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that one. I think that's a consensus. Put Philly in.
Okay.
1,000%. I saw that. Typed it in the algo. It feels great.
Okay. And then the other one that I had on my mind was the Detroit and Tampa game. And Tampa's getting 7 points here. I know it's in Detroit, but last week, I think the 2 defenses that were the most impressive to me were Dallas and Tampa. And Tampa,
but they're all hurt now.
Who, sir?
Tampa's secondary.
I thought you just had. I thought you had one of the safeties that was questionable.
Let me see. So Tampa, maybe they're fine now. So Antoine Winfield is questionable. They already have Bryce Hall, who's been out. They have Zion McCollum, who has a concussion, so he might not be able to play. Josh Hayes, he was questionable with an ankle from last week. So it's 3 corners and 1 safety. But I'll bet you McCollum was limited in practice on Wednesday, so he could progress through the protocol. But it's they're banged up, and they're banged up in the secondary for to go against Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra and stuff.
If you don't, I mean, it's a touch. We're getting a touchdown for Tampa, and I think Tampa's a good football team. I know it's in Detroit and it's indoors and stuff. Baker's pretty hot. I mean, if you want to stay away from it, we can stay away from it. But I just think Tampa's a really good team.
Does the algo like it?
Very good.
First off, I liked it. That was one of the 2 that I was going to bring to the table. That is something that we'll talk about in the free 3. I like Tampa here. It feels like too many points. Algo backs it. Not a high value pick, but certainly there's some value there. And qualitatively, it feels good. Where was St. Brown last week? What was that a testament to?
Well, if it felt like there was, they kind of asked him a lot about it, and they said, what they said that. They said that Jameson Williams just found himself in these spots, man. kind of weird. Like it's kind of like he's gonna be fine. Like Gibbs is gonna be fine. These guys are gonna be fine. It's just different game flows, kind of go different things. I think it's gonna be fine with St. Brown, and especially if this defense is banged. Look, if you guys both like Tampa and the algo likes him, man, it's like that's considered consensus. So we can go with it. I'd like to, if we're not getting
let's see how this unfolds.
Yeah.
Let's see how this unfolds. I think let's put him in the 5, but let's pay attention to the secondary.
The injury reports on the secondary.
And that's why we pay the proxy to have those late entry.
That late turn in. Yeah.
Right?
Yes. All right, Mitch. What are your 2?
I really like Baltimore here. And I came on last week talking about Baltimore Thursday night. Obviously, we're not going to do that. I gave it away on the free pick'em, the free 3 that we do for Bet the Algo. And, I feel like I got robbed on that, because when you look at offensively what Baltimore was able to do, even with the turnovers, even with going forward on 4th and 1 inside their own territory, and giving Kansas City essentially 6 free points, Baltimore still had a chance to win that game on the road in Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Baltimore is going to destroy.
Yeah, they are. We got to put this on the
Raiders team.
We got to.
You can look at the final score of that KC Ravens.
I thought
game.
last week the Chargers was the easiest one, man. Like, of course I'm going to think the Ravens is the easiest one.
Hey, by the way, I want to say that was a great call. I was anti. It looked iffy early. And then they got it going. But that just tells you how bad the Raiders are. And this is one of the top 4 best teams in football, going against one of the worst. So Algo backs it. I love Baltimore here.
I love it, dude. I love it. And it was like I was Siege and I on our entry. He wouldn't let me go Chargers either. And I was just texting. Because he wanted to go Carolina. And I was like, golly, Siege. And like, you won't let me go Chargers, but you have to go Carolina, right? And of course, we know what happened with Carolina. Like they're off the board for the rest of the year as far as that entry, as far as I'm concerned, or any entry. I don't want them anywhere. But I was just like, so I was just texting, being like, why didn't you let me take the Chargers? Like, he's like, they got off easy. Like these Raiders are idiots. They don't like. I'm like, well, yeah, that's why you bet against them, man. They're a bad team and they make idiotic decisions. It's like, let's take the Ravens here. What are we like? What is it? -8, 8.5,
9.5.
That number is 9.5.
It doesn't matter though. Like when you look at what Baltimore does early in the season,
Baltimore.
They walked the dog. They beat Cleveland 28-3 last year, Detroit 38-6, Seattle 37-3.
Coming off a loss. Are you kidding me,
what
dude?
they do, and especially at home. Like this is going to be a suffocation.
And now the immersion of a second tight end, which takes pressure off of Andrews. I mean, they're going to want to. They're going to. I think they're going to beat the piss out of this team.
Yes, dude. Yeah, man. Let's get Baltimore on. This.
All right. So we've got Baltimore, we've got Tampa, and
Philly.
Maybe KC.
Philly.
Maybe Tampa, I guess, as we watch this unfold.
Hey, man, it's going to be the 2 birds. Like, caw. It's going to be Ravens and Philly this weekend, doggy. Right?
You guys aren't going to like this next play.
Okay.
I think there's massive overreaction on Cleveland. I really do.
Oh, we can't do it.
I agree.
Are you serious?
I think there's a reason. Look, Dallas has a really good football team. Cleveland, by the way, was the number 1 ranked defense on yards allowed last year. And last week proved it. They lost the game. They only gave up 265 yards to the Cowboys. Granted, they did nothing on offense. I don't know if it's, indicative of future performance, as we say in the investment world, but you got to think that this defense is going to make some plays. Jacksonville, I don't know. There's something about Jacksonville. I feel like they can always step up and play with the better teams. And then when they play with teams that maybe sub-caliber, they lose games that they should win. And when I look at Jacksonville's defense, they're mid. I thought Miami should have trolled them at least by double digits. We all did. This feels like a bounce back game for Cleveland. And I don't know, perhaps maybe I'm a little crazy, but they're very high on the algos list. So to me, it feels like a solid bounce back, and I could see Cleveland winning this game outright.
Is there any reason that we're not taking the Chargers as a conversation either, though? Like, are they in the? Is that in the conversation at all?
I'm not on the Chargers. I don't know if Mitch is. I don't think I'm on.
I don't feel great about the Chargers here.
You're only getting like a point
at all.
and a half.
I don't. I think this feels like a 6-point game in my mind. I think Carolina's going to cover.
All right.
But talk to me on Tuesday.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely do it. So I think we'll let you guys know. I guess we'll tweet it out or something whenever we get our final 5. I guess we didn't do that last week. We probably should have. So we'll get that done so you guys know what they are before we put them in. But 80%